Hello guys, usually this would be the part where I'll tell you that I have a beautiful car with me today, and even though the car is beautiful, we're not going to be driving this one in this video, unfortunately, and that is for the reason that I blew up the engine on this thing. So yeah. So basically, to give you guys a little bit of context, this is my E92 335i 2010 model year. So it's an LCI one with the N55 engine. So let's talk a little bit about what happened actually to the car. Just summed up very quickly, the car just ate its rod bearings. So the rod bearings failed on this car, and now the engine is knocking. The engine's oil filter is full of metal shavings, like completely. I'll put up a video of it for you guys, to the extent of it being very, very drastic, I would say. And I'm actually quite surprised that the engine is still running on this car. To give you guys a little bit of a background with this car, I've had this car for quite a while. I didn't just buy it or anything, and I've driven this car for quite a while also. I just never made a video about it because I kind of got the car a little bit before I started making the videos and all of that. But it was all supposed to change. I was feeling super motivated. You know, the weather was great here in Germany. We had 32, 35 degrees or something. Sun was shining, not a single cloud in the sky. And yeah, I was feeling super euphoric. I was about to make a video like the 335i E92 review. When I picked up the car, it was all pretty much fine. I even filmed some cool shots of me washing the car. And then I drove to some quieter roads, some back roads, which are closed off, of course, like they're always when I'm filming the videos on them. And getting out of the car, I start to hear like engine noises coming from the engine bay. Like a very characteristic metallic knock from the engine bay, you know. And if you've ever driven a BMW, you know that is not a good thing with cars in general, if they're making weird sounds. But with BMWs, you almost all of the time have rod bearing failure, you know. And this didn't make that much sense to me in the moment because I give you guys a quick background of this car. This car has a lot of miles, and it's approaching 200,000 miles, 300,000 kilometers. Okay, and in the first moment, you're going to say to me, you're an idiot for even driving this car or whatever, and that it's of course going to blow up. But there's one important thing here, and that is that the engine in this car has been in the car for not even 6,000 kilometers, I think. Like it has been in there for pretty much no time at all. And even during that time, I did do like 2 oil changes to make sure that the car was running well. And it was running well, honestly, for quite a bit of time. As I mentioned, I've driven this car before a bunch, even did like a little road trip in it. And the car was always behaving very well, I would say. But as I mentioned yesterday, that all kind of changed. The first thing I did was get out of the car, opened up the hood, and then kind of realized that the engine was not going to be okay on this car because it was knocking quite heavily, and it only got worse when you revved the car. So I was pretty convinced already that the engine was just gone. Next thing I did was call a friend of mine and asked him for advice, basically, because I was quite shocked, and honestly I was kind of, yeah, you know, clueless. So he just told me, go to the workshop, which was fortunately not that far away. It was basically, I think, like just a kilometer away or something. So that was very lucky, you know. But going to the workshop, and after opening up the oil filter, it was pretty much clear to me that the engine was gone, because the engine was completely full of metal shavings. And in that case, your engine is pretty much toast, and you will need to either completely rebuild it or swap it out altogether. And after that, basically, I got two thoughts in my head. And the first one was basically, how could this have happened? You know, like, what was the issue? Why did the engine fail after only being in the car for such a short time? Because as I mentioned, when I got the car, it had a broken engine. I fixed it up, did the complete engine swap. The car was running great, you know, no issues whatsoever. And then it kind of went all downhill from there, I guess. Yeah, and even in the very short time that this engine has been in the car, you know, it's been only in the car for, I think, 5 to 6,000 kilometers, and even in that time I did 2 oil changes. So don't even get me started on telling me I messed up by neglecting my maintenance or something, because this is not the case with this car. And then the second thing which I thought about was, how am I going to fix it, or am I going to fix it, you know? And I did the pretty much only thing I could think of, and went online, searched for engines, searched for engine parts, and now it's been pretty much 24 hours later, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm probably not going to be rebuilding this car. And honestly, even though it's pretty sad, because I would have loved to make a lot of content with this car. I mean, the E92 community is super big, and the content would have been super awesome with the car. These are such great platforms, you know. I love the E92, honestly. I love the looks. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, you know. But unfortunately, it's just not going to happen with this car, at least, you know. Maybe in the future there's going to be a different opportunity, a different E92, but this is not going to be the car which I'm doing content with. Let me quickly explain why I'm not going to be rebuilding this car, because I know you guys would have loved to probably see the rebuild, and honestly, it probably would have been good for content, you know, rebuilding the car. But there's two main things holding me back. And the first thing is, if we're being realistic, I've talked about it, the car has a bunch of miles. The car has almost 200,000 miles, 300,000 kilometers roughly. And the value of the car is already so depreciated that it's just not worth putting a new engine in. Because even if we're buying a used engine, or I'm buying used engine parts and rebuilding the engine, then I'm not going to know if it's going to be 100% running again, or how much I need, if the cylinder block is damaged, if just the crankshaft is damaged. If the crankshaft is damaged, I don't know. And honestly, financially, it's just not worth it, you know. Because here in Europe, even used, the N55s for the E-Series are pretty expensive, honestly, because they're quite rare cars, honestly, if you think about it. They were only built for like 3 years or something. So they're quite rare, and it only came in the E92 as well. You know, there was no 4 Series back then. So these engines are actually super rare. And that's kind of part of the problem why they are super expensive. You know, if you're getting a used engine, you're going to be paying between 5 to 6K, and honestly, dumping that much money into this car, which has close to 300,000 kilometers, which would make it run on its third engine pretty much, speaking of it, it's just not worth it. And second thing is, I have a bunch of other projects I kind of want to work on, and make videos about and do cool content with, you know. Just let me tell you guys, I mean, there are some quite big projects which I've been planning for a few weeks and months even now, which are in the future, which you can definitely be excited for. So this kind of happened at a very unlucky time, and maybe if I didn't have any content, I would have pursued in rebuilding this car. But unfortunately, at my current state and in my current situation, both financially and occupation-wise, it's just not going to happen, you know. And while I'm not going to do any more videos with this car, I still wanted to do this video. Just because, you know, this is also part of being a car guy, you know, or like a BMW driver, more prominently said. But this is also part of it, you know, like destroying your car, blowing up the engine, and unfortunately kind of giving up on the car, honestly. And even though it very much hurts me to do so, I had some time to think, and honestly, I think it's the right choice. So I'm probably going to sell the car as it is, or part it out, but probably selling it as it is, because as I mentioned, I have enough other projects to work on currently. So even though I'm not going to be rebuilding this engine, we can still talk a little bit about what have possibly could have happened, you know? And mainly the engine was probably caused by a combination of things, you know? Generally, the failure of the rod bearing always comes from a starvation or a lack of oil. And that can happen for several things. Number one, if your oil is not flowing as nicely as it should, because you have neglected your maintenance and the oil has been in the engine for too long. And the second thing which can happen is if your oil pump is failing, which then leads to just the rod bearings not having any oil around them, and then of course if the engine is spinning at such high RPM, it's not going to be beneficial for them and they're not going to last long. Another thing which can happen on these N55s, and you will definitely have to look out for if you're a spirited driver in an 335 with the N55, regardless of what chassis you're driving, if it's E series or F series, is the issue with the oil pan. Because the N55 suffers from oil starvation when you're doing very long or very hard left turns, also while drifting. That can happen, but basically just the complete oil shifts to one side of the oil pan where the oil pump cannot pick it up properly, and then the oil pump of course has no oil, which causes oil starvation, and that causes rod bearing damage, you know. And this is a known issue. You can prevent it a little bit by getting either an upgrade oil pan or just getting the S55 oil pan from the M4 or the M3 of the F series, which I think it actually works plug and play. I haven't done it, so honestly no idea about that, but this engine didn't have it, and maybe that's also part of the problem. Now, when I posted about blowing up the engine on my Instagram, you should also probably follow me on there if you want to be updated on the cars, I guess. What a cheeky plug right there. When I posted a reel about this engine failing, I got so many comments, and honestly people were so upset with me for no reason at all, and they don't know the story behind this car, and they got so upset with me, telling me basically, oh, you deserve it, you're doing your oil changes every like 10,000 kilometers, which I don't know what they are on about. I mean, you know the other cars I have, you know, I have the G30 and stuff like that, and all of the other cars on the channel, and all of those cars get 10,000 kilometer oil changes, even with the M550D, the F11, which is the like most notorious engine for failing on a BMW. I always did 10k oil changes and never had an issue, you know. But they were basically telling me, you deserve it for not changing your oil as much. Which, as I mentioned, the engine in this car has not even been there for 10,000 kilometers, and I did 2 oil changes in that time, so that's not even a possibility. Second thing people told me was, oh, you're running trash oil filters, even though I was running like original BMW oil filters for the most part. So I don't know how that even comes into play, but whatever, I don't care, honestly. If you want to hear my opinion on it, the oil filter has nothing to do with this engine failing. If anything, it has kept the car from completely destroying itself and still running by catching all of the debris in the engine. But yeah, people were super upset. Next thing people told me, you don't warm up your cars, you rev the shit out of them. Let me tell you guys, for the first 2,000 kilometers of driving this car with the new engine, I was so careful to not rev it over 3,000 RPM, always, you know, driving it very slowly. And after the 2,000 kilometers, I always made sure to warm up the car if I want to go on a spirited drive. Still didn't rev limiter it, didn't go drifting with it, didn't do top speed runs or whatever. You know, the car has actually had quite an easy life, which also doesn't really make sense why it failed then. But yeah, I mean, people on the internet know everything apparently. So, and next thing, spirited driving, going left corners. I went drifting with the car. I've heard it multiple times. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is just to clarify a little bit of the situation also maybe with this car, and that as far as I'm concerned, I did everything in my power to keep this car perfectly healthy and perfectly running. And also, I want to talk about it. I've owned a bunch of cars, all of them BMWs. This doesn't really make sense, you know, but what I'm trying to say is, as far as I'm concerned, it's not my fault that this engine failed. As I mentioned, probably some issue with oil starvation or anything else related to that, which I don't think really is my fault, you know. Still, it doesn't really matter that much. All I know for sure is that the engine is gone on this car. And as I mentioned, I'm probably not going to be rebuilding this car, which is very unfortunate. And it also means that this is probably the first and last time already you're going to see the E92 335 on this channel. At least this one, as I mentioned. Maybe in the future there will be another one, but this one, I've had enough of the car. And as I've mentioned, I've just pretty much lost faith in this car, you know. I told you the story of how I got the car with a broken engine, did the engine swap, just fixed up the car, did everything so nicely, even got new tires, new brakes, whatever, you know. Just made sure the car was super, super clean. And now it's failed again. And honestly, I've just lost faith in this car, you know. If I was to rebuild it, the car would be running on its third engine technically, and it would have almost close to 300,000 miles. So the value of the car would be just completely tanked. And honestly, it's just not worth it for me, you know. And not everything works out, you know. So don't be upset if something doesn't work out for you, you know. There's always another car you can buy. Pretty much is the message of this video. I don't know. And last thing I want to talk about is I posted about this on Instagram and I got a lot of messages basically from a lot of N55 drivers, you know, either F series or E series, asking me what went wrong, what kind of oil I used, and what they can learn from this situation, you know. And there's several things you can do. Basically, one thing, never neglect your maintenance. Second thing, do your rod bearings. Even though this is not an S55 or an S85 or S65, which are known to have more rod bearing issues than the N55, you can still do them, you know, because they do tend to fail, you know. So yeah, maybe doing your rod bearings while you're at it. Maybe your oil pan gasket, if you're doing that, just change out the rod bearings as well while you're at it. And also, of course, letting your car warm up before spirited driving or anything like that. But that should basically just be basic BMW knowledge, you know. And the last thing which you can basically do, which I already mentioned, is the oil pan upgrade to either an M3 or M4 oil pan or a custom one. They kind of have these little baffles in them, I guess, and that way the oil pump can pick up the oil better and more consistently, and you might save your engine from failing, especially when you're doing a lot of track driving and also drifting. Definitely something to get into as well. Also, little side note, if you're driving an F87 with the N55, you don't have to concern yourself with these issues. The N55 from the M2, OG M2, actually has the like S55 oil pan design, so you don't have to concern yourself with that, you know. So a little conclusion to this video, I guess. These things happen and you can't really do anything about them other than what I've mentioned. And it's part of the journey. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, even though it's a little bit of a different video. If you want to tell me anything, what your opinion is on this engine failing, just write it down in the comments. And other than that, enjoy your N55 while it's running and subscribe, you know, so I can buy like more cool cars which are running and driving and don't have failing engines, you know.